What's up, losers? Today, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. Okay, that was cringy, haha. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is episode 22 of my r/fatlogic series, where I, perhaps unsurprisingly, read and react to posts from r/fatlogic. I've got a couple of interesting posts to look at today, and I'm all fired up and ready to lay into them. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Firstly, obesity is a social construct, and not a legitimate disease, because things like genetics, metabolism, muscle and bone density were never considered when the term obesity came about, and the BMI is not an accurate measurement of health, as it is centered around Eurocentric bodies. Of course, this will likely get dismissed, because when fat people try educate people about their socially constructed false beliefs, we aren't taken seriously, but you would think we know more about body and fat politics than other people, since our bodies are always the focal point of discussions. Secondly, I have never once met a fat person who promotes obesity. If by existing, you are implying that I am promoting obesity, then that sounds like a you problem. Fat people are allowed to exist in their bodies, and do not owe anyone health. Thirdly, this is such an ableist take lol. Thin people will talk about health, but fail to see how they also have very unhealthy behavior. It just isn't as visible on their bodies. Thin people eat more junk food than fat people do. I don't see us caring about their health.
Oh my god, if you guys have never tried writing out a response to this kind of post, trust me when I say, you have no idea how frustrating it is, haha. Like, there's so much here. 99% of it is rubbish. And it's all so flimsily strung together that you basically have to respond to each point individually. Which is the height of tedium. Sighs. Don't say old Skelly never did anything for you. I'm going in. First of all, I've talked about the whole obesity is a social construct proposition in the past, and my position was basically that, while all diseases might be considered social constructs in a sense, obesity is no more a social construct than other diseases. It is identifiable by clear physical indicators, and delivers serious health consequences to those who suffer from it. It should be treated with as much seriousness as other diseases, not lazily dismissed like this because it makes people feel bad. As for the idea that genetics, metabolism, muscle, and bone density were never considered, I don't really understand what is being suggested here. Like for genetics, you don't need to account for genetics when diagnosing any illness. Do you? You do it based on the physical symptoms. Some people might be more genetically predisposed to certain illnesses than others. But that doesn't invalidate the diagnosis. And again for metabolism, if someone is obese, they're obese. There might be some metabolic factors that contributed to their becoming obese. Or there might not. I would leave that up to a doctor to determine. Either way, metabolic abnormalities wouldn't make someone who's 400 pounds somehow not obese. As for muscle and bone density, what is even being suggested here? That obese people are actually just big-boned, that their muscle is just denser than thin people's, and that's why they weigh more. None of that really passes the eye test, does it? Like we can see when someone is carrying a lot of excess body fat. It's not like getting them to step on the scale is the only way of providing that information. People always like to point out that some freakish bodybuilders might have an obese BMI despite having a low body fat percentage. But these people represent a minuscule proportion of the population, and are visibly not carrying the kind of excess body fat that most obese people are. So it would be obvious to both the physician and the patient that this was not an issue. And that's not even getting into the fact that these people are nearly always on steroids, which brings its own array of health risks and is not what anyone should hold up as the gold standard in health. You can't just disregard BMI based on its supposed bias towards Eurocentric bodies either, because even if I accept that this bias is present, and I accept that it skews the average slightly, adjusting for this bias is not going to make people who are clearly obese suddenly not obese. Like there's no ethnic group for which being 400 pounds is healthy or quote-unquote natural. You would just be pushing a few more people who are on the borderline from obese to overweight, overweight to normal, and normal to underweight. It's not like these categories would just cease to exist. So, ultimately, this nitpick about the imperfections of BMI as a metric is still skirting around the much more important issue of obesity and its consequences. The next point the post tries to make is that everyone who accepts the medical consensus around obesity is laboring under socially constructed, false beliefs, and that they need to be educated by fat people, who apparently understand more about these things, from their experience of being fat, and their knowledge of fat politics. This one doesn't require much of a response, does it? Like, yeah, I believe the medical consensus over the random opinions of some clearly emotionally invested fat activist. And no, I don't need you to educate me, but thanks for the offer though. The post also claims that fat people do not promote obesity, which I agree with. Generally speaking, most fat people are just living their lives, and using social media like everyone else. But fat acceptance absolutely promotes obesity. It tells people how great it is being fat, and discourages or shames those who try to lose weight. Sounds like promotion to me. Finally, they try to make it about thin people, by saying thin people can be unhealthy too, which, obviously, they can, but they can't be obese. Which is what we were actually talking about, haha. And the absolute cherry on top, they try to say that thin people eat more junk food than fat people do. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. No, thanks for giving me a provocative title for this video though.
Gentle reminder that I do not ever want to see pro-dieting propaganda on my feed. No, not even if it's all couched in positive thinking. No, not even if it's not a diet, asterisk, it's a diet. No, not even if you currently believe it's working for you. The science on weight loss is extremely clear. You can lose weight by dieting, sure, but no matter how you're thinking about it, your body will see it as a dangerous drop in the available calories, and will try extra hard to hold on to and build up its fat reserves whenever calories are available. The lie is that most diets fail because of failures of willpower, or because they are unsustainable. The truth is that they fail because losing weight is profoundly unnatural, and our bodies reject it as hard as they can. There is some evidence that you can change your fat to muscle ratio through types of exercise, but that is not the discussion here. This is not even touching on the harm that diet talk does to people experiencing, recovering from, or vulnerable to eating disorders. I report diet adverts as scams. If your feed becomes a diet advert, I will tell you what I think of that.
This post is kind of fascinating, insofar as it represents just about the clearest example you can imagine of the fat acceptance echo chamber in action. Like, the whole point of the post is literally telling people not to try to penetrate this person's bubble. It dismisses any and all diet adverts as scams, and expresses a complete unwillingness to engage with any perspectives that are not 100% aligned with the poster's own. Crazy. As for the substance of what the post is claiming, with regard to the science of weight loss, needless to say it's pretty bonkers. The way it describes the body fighting tooth and nail to prevent its owner from staying thin is flat out weird. Like, it seems to think that the body has a mind of its own that is completely separate from the person's actual mind. Which is one way to avoid responsibility for one's actions, I suppose. Unfortunately, the laws of physics place certain restraints on this. Like, if the body isn't receiving enough energy, it can't just try really hard and create extra fat. That's not how that works. It's also hilarious how the poster thinks they're making some big concession by saying that it might be possible to change one's fat to muscle ratio through exercise. Like, everyone knows that's possible. Why do you think anyone goes to the gym? LMAO, what silliness. It's a shame that this person has decided not to listen to anyone who's not an FA Kool-Aid drinker. Because it sounds like they could really benefit from hearing from someone who, well, isn't totally detached from reality. Haha. On a more serious note, I do acknowledge that seeing lots of diet content could be triggering to people suffering from eating disorders. But as unfortunate as that might be, I think it has to be their responsibility to make sure that they are filtering that content out. Because you can't expect everyone else to drop everything to cater to your individual needs.
Isn't it time to ditch the term #dirty food? Dirty food is rooted in anti-fat bias, classism, white supremacy, racism, and fat phobia. It's a divisive value judgment. All food is good food, and there is a place for it all in our lives. #food is food.
Okay, so this is probably just a result of the circles that I run in. But does anyone actually use the expression dirty food? I'm guessing that the term must be popular somewhere for this person to feel the need to make a post about it. But for the life of me, I can't remember anyone actually describing food this way. Like, I know some people talk about eating clean, but dirty food is totally unfamiliar to me. If anyone knows who actually says dirty food, please enlighten me in the comments. I'm always looking to learn new things. That unnecessarily long tangent aside, yeah, I wouldn't describe food as dirty. It's unnecessarily assigning a moral value to food, when all that really matters is its calorie count and nutritional composition. As long as you're getting the nutrients you need, and you're not consuming too many calories, as far as I'm concerned, you can eat whatever you like. I myself eat plenty of stuff that's not exactly clean: cakes, cookies, desserts, chocolate, fast food, pretty much anything you can think of. But I account for all of it in relation to my calorie count and nutritional requirements. So it's not an issue. I actually do see the point this person is making about the classist and sometimes racist implications of how people describe food. Like, I always find it obnoxious when some snooty, upper-class chef tells poor people that they are lesser for enjoying chicken nuggets. Because there's nothing wrong with chicken nuggets. I love me some chicken nuggets. They're probably a lot nicer than whatever nasty spinach and goat's cheese salad those chefs serve at their restaurant for $100 each. LMAO, so I do think we should be skeptical of people who try to turn food into symbols of morality or status. But where this gets dicey is when fat activists take this critique and twist it to argue that it justifies eating whatever and however much one wants all the time, which it really doesn't. Whether you're eating McDonald's or the aforementioned spinach salad, your overall diet goals should be the same. But lots of fat activists inexplicably just throw in the towel and overindulge in calorically dense foods, which, ironically, ends up making the food snobs appear to be right when they end up obese. Nice going, guys. Damn, I can't believe how much I have to say about such a short post. Haha. I guess in summary, food snobs, stop shaming people for eating fast food and junk food. Fat activists, stop using food snobbery to justify your refusal to diet. That is all. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. In spite of how long I rambled on about each of the posts, haha. What do you think? Are chicken nuggets nice? Is dirty food a thing? Do thin people eat more junk food than fat people? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll force you to eat yucky salads every day for a week. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.